Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. My name's Patrick Kenny. I'm going to be your host for today's episode, and I am kind of excited for this episode. I actually think that this one might be better than even the last one when I was just doing some player profiles, but this one we're going to get into some stats and standing updates here just a second. Then we're going to go over the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers series. We're going to see how all of those games played out. We're going to get into a little bit of the sort of minor controversy with Clayton Kershaw going into that. And then after that, we're going to go over my opinions on some rule changes and the extra innings thing and how they're affecting baseball. I know my dad personally hates the extra innings, runner on second, Texas League kind of thing, and I'm not too big of a fan of it, but I'm not going to give you all my thoughts just yet. And then right after that, we're going to go over a Bo Jackson biography. So we're just going to be going over that in just a few minutes. But first off, we're going to get started with some stats and standing updates. All right, and we are going to get started right here with just the league leaders. So far, league leaders in hitting with OPS, the league leaders by far in first place is Ronald Acuna Jr. He has an OPS of 1,373, followed by Justin Turner. Then Justin Turner has a 1,250 OPS. JD Martinez has the third highest OPS in the bigs right now. First American League player, and he has a OPS of 1,239, followed by Mike Trout, who has an OPS of 1,179, and then in fifth place is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He has an OPS of 1,174. Now going to league leader in average so far this season, that is Brandon Nimmo, although he's only played in 11 games and has only had 38 at-bats, so his average is a little bit higher and less weighted than the other players. For example, his average is 447. Ronald Acuna Jr. is in second, but he's played in 16 games and had 62 at-bats, and he's hitting 419 so far this year. He's currently in second place, followed by Justin Turner, who's hitting 407, and Yerman Mercedes in fourth, who's hitting 404, the last player in the 400s. Nelson Cruz is in fifth place so far this year. He is hitting 390. All right, and then now going to OBS, on base percentage, the league leader right now is Brandon Nimmo, and he is currently getting on base at a rate of 543, followed by Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is getting on base at 507% of the time. So a little bit more than average. Vladimir Guerrero, or not average, a little bit more than half the time he comes up, he's getting on base in some form or fashion. Then that's followed by Mike Trout, who is getting on base at a rate of 492, and Ronald Acuna Jr. is in fourth, getting on base at a rate of 486, followed by Yuri Gurriel, who's getting on base at 447, and then Justin Turner is in sixth place, just barely behind him at a rate of 471. Now going over to the league leader in home runs so far this year, and that is going to be Ronald Acuna Jr. He is in first place with 7 home runs so far through the first 16 games of the season so far. And then tied for second is a whole bunch of players. As Eduardo Escobar of Arizona, the second baseman, has 6. So does JD Martinez, Ryan McCann of Colorado, Tyler Naquin of Cincinnati, and then Wilson Ramos of the Detroit Tigers, the catcher for the Tigers. They all have 6 home runs, and they're all tied for second. And then there are a whole bunch of more guys that are tied for 7th place with 5 home runs so far this year. And that's Chris Bryant, Byron Buxton, Nick Castellanos, Wilson Contreras, Paul DeJong, Rafael Devers, Freddie Freeman, Salvador Perez, and Justin Turner. They're all tied for 7th place with 5 home runs, and then the list kind of goes on from there. And now going over to our league leader in second or 2 baggers, Rhys Hopkins, JD Martinez, Luis Robertson, and Justin Turner are all tied for first place with 7 doubles so far this year. And then Ronald Acuna Jr., Christian Arroyo, Xander Bogaerts, and Corey Seager are all tied for 6th place with 6 doubles apiece. And then it goes down from 5 doubles and so on and so forth. In at-bats, the person leading the league in at-bats so far this year is Jake Cronenworth. He's the second baseman for the San Diego Padres, if you weren't familiar, and he's actually hitting .310 so far this year. So considering he's leading the league in at-bats and he's hitting that well, I think that's really good news for Padres fans, just because he's getting on base quite a bit. He's also getting on base at 375, and considering he leads the league in at-bats, and they played 18 games so far this year, and he only has 8 strikeouts, I'd say he's doing really, really well. Up next in at-bats is Mitch Haniger, the right fielder for Seattle. He has 69 at-bats, which is tied for second with Isaac Keener Falfa. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I know I'm mispronouncing the shortstop's name for the Texas Rangers. I haven't watched many Rangers games this year, so I apologize for that. But in 4th place, it is Tommy Eden, and Eden has played in 16 games, had 68 at-bats, and then Enrique Hernandez and Luis Roberts of the White Sox both have 67 at-bats. In games played, they're all going to be, the top 3 are all Padres players. They played the most games so far this year with 18. In RBIs, the league leader in RBIs so far is JD Martinez. He has 20, and then tied for second place is Ronald Acuna Jr., Nate Lau, and Justin Turner with 16, and then tied for 5th place is Rafael Devers and Tyler Naquin with 15 RBIs apiece. Now we're gonna go now and then go over to the pitchers so far this year in ERA. Jacob deGrom has the lowest ERA. He has a 1-1 record in the 3 games that he's pitched up until this point. I'm recording this on April 20th. So far he has gotten he's sort of gotten the short end of the stick, so to speak, when it comes to win-loss record, and his team supporting him with runs, kind of his whole career, really. He has a .45 ERA, 20 innings pitched, 35 strikeouts, a .7 WHIP, and the opponents are hitting just 162 against him. In second place is Corbin Burns. He also has a 1-1 record. He's pitching for Milwaukee this season. He has a .49 ERA in the 18 and the third innings that he has pitched. He's only given up 4 hits and 1 earned run. He has hit 2 batters, 1 home run given up, but he struck out 30, followed by Danny Duffy, who has a 2-1 record in the 3 games that he has started. He has a .5 ERA and 18 innings pitched for him, giving up 14 hits, 3 runs. Only 1 of those were earned, and that was a home run. He's walked 6 batters and struck out 19. His opponents are hitting just .209 against him. And then that is followed by Tyler Glasnow, who has pitched in 4 games. He has a 2-0 record, 24 2/3 innings pitched, giving up only 9 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 walks, and 36 strikeouts for a WHIP of a .65, and an average, our opponent's average is just 108. By the way, if you don't know what a WHIP is, it's walks and hits per inning. So the ratio of walks plus hits to the innings pitched is basically what a WHIP is. And then in 5th place is Marcus Stroman. In the 3 games that he has started, he is 3-0 with a .9 ERA. He's thrown 20 innings. He has given up 10 hits, just 2 earned runs, 1 home run. He's hit 1 batter, walked 3, struck out 11. Opponents are hitting just a $149 off of him, and he has a whip of a .65. He's doing a great job so far this year. League leaders in innings pitched so far. Shane Bieber is leading the league with that. He has pitched in 29 1/3 innings. He has given up 17 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 home runs. He's hit 1 batter, walked 10, and struck out 48. Followed by Matthew Boyd, for Detroit, who has pitched in 26 2/3 innings. He's given up 20 hits, 6 earned runs, just 1 home run, 3 hit batters, 6 walks, 19 strikeouts. Then Trevor Bauer and Joe Musgroves are tied for third with 26 innings pitched together. Bauer has given up 10 hits as opposed to Musgroves' 11. Bauer has given up 7 earned runs as opposed to Musgroves' 3. 4 home runs for Bauer, 3 for Musgroves, 6 walks for Bauer, 3 for Musgroves, and 36 strikeouts for Bauer, 37 for Musgroves. And then tied for 5th is Kevin Guzman and Zach Greinke. They both have pitched in 25 2/3 of an inning. 17 hits given up for Guzman, 22 for Greinke. 7 earned runs for Guzman, 8 for Greinke. 2 home runs for Guzman, 4 for Greinke. 23 strikeouts for Guzman, just 16 for Greinke. So, I mean, all of these pitchers are doing very, very well, and Sandy Alcantara for Miami is right up there with him. He's pitched in 24 2/3 of an inning. He's doing one heck of a job so far. But our league leaders so far this season in strikeouts is Shane Bieber by quite a bit, but he's also pitched in a lot more innings than the rest of the field. So Bieber, like I said, has pitched in 29 1/3 innings. He's struck out 48 batters. That's followed by Garrett Cole, who has pitched in just 24 2/3 inning, who struck out 39 batters. Joe Musgroves in 26 innings, and Trevor Bauer in 26 innings, have 37 and 36 respectively. And then Tyler Glasnow, who's pitched the least out of all 4 other of those pitchers. He has pitched in 24 2/3. He's tied with Garrett Cole, but he has 36 strikeouts as well. So a lot of good stuff going on in baseball right now. Personally, if I had to give out the American League Cy Young Award right now, like I think I have to give it out to give it to Glasnow through the first 4 starts of the season. Bieber, I think, would be a close second, just maybe a little bit ahead of Garrett Cole, just because he might have a little bit higher of a whip, but people aren't hitting as well against Shane Bieber as they are hitting Garrett Cole. And granted, they're not hitting great against either of them, but Tyler Glasnow kind of blows them both out of the water so far this year. His whip is almost 30 points lower than Shane Bieber's, almost 20 points lower than Garrett Cole, and batters are hitting almost 100 against Tyler Glasnow so far this year. But so far, team pitching, it's the San Diego Padres leading the league in ERA. They have a 10-8 record, followed by the San Francisco Giants, who are 10-6, with a 2.71 team ERA, followed by the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have a 2.82 ERA. They have a 13-4 record, followed by the Milwaukee Brewers in 4th place at a 9-7 record, a 2.92 ERA, and then the New York Mets are in 5th with a 7-4 record and a 2.93 ERA. And then going back over to team batting, the Red Sox lead the league right now in OPS, but I don't like to go over OPS so far, but they are leading the league in average as well. They have a 288 average, a 351 on base percentage, and that's one of the reasons why they're the best teams in the league right now. That is followed by the Los Angeles Angels in 2nd place with a 265 batting average, a 751 OPS. The Cincinnati Reds have the 3rd place on lock right now with a 264 average, an 808 OPS, and a 338 on base percentage. Then the Nationals are in fourth place with a 262 batting average, a 322 on base percentage, and a 719 OPS. Then the Dodgers are in fifth place. They are hitting 256 as a team, have a 352 team on base percentage, and then an 801 OPS so far for the year. The team leading in home runs is the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. They are both tied for first with 25, and then the Cincinnati Reds are in third with 24. 23 goes to fourth place with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and then tied for fifth are the Diamondbacks, Cubs, and the Cleveland Indians with 22 home runs so far this year. Now we're going to go over to standings. We're going to start out in the NL West. The Dodgers are currently in first place in that division with a 13-4 record. Then it's followed by the San Francisco Giants, who have a 10-6 record and are 2.5 back from first place. They are a game up on the wild card. And then that is followed by the San Diego Padres, who are 10-8 after the weekend series against the Dodgers. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But they are 10-8. They are 3.5 back out of first place. They do have the wild card spot, so they are definitely in the wild card chase for sure. Arizona is 6-10 as of recording this episode. They're 6.5 back of first place, 3 back of the wild card, and then Colorado is 4-12. They are 8.5 back of first place, down back 5 of the wild card. Going out to the NL Central, in last place in that division is the Chicago Cubs. They are 6-9. They are 3 games back out of first place, 2.5 back out of the wild card. Pittsburgh is 7-9. They are 2.5 back out of first place, just 2 games back, however, out of the wild card. Then it's followed by the St. Louis Cardinals. They are 8-8 at a perfect 500 record. They are 1.5 back behind the Cincinnati Reds of first place in the Central. They are 1 game back out of the wild card. Then the Milwaukee Brewers are 9-7, and they are just a half game back of the Cincinnati Reds. They do technically have one of the wild card spots, or are tied for one of the wild card spots at the moment. Then they follow the Cincinnati Reds in first place in the NL Central. They are 9-6 so far. The Reds are doing really, really good this year. Just not so great. They're not doing great on the road, but at home they're one of the best teams in baseball this year. Now going out to the NL East, this is still a weird division, with the Mets having a lot of their games postponed due to inclement weather and things like that. So the Mets are in first place right now with a 7-4 record, a winning percentage of .636, followed by the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 8-8, a game and a half back out of first place, a game out of the wild card, followed by the Miami Marlins, who are 7-8. They are 2 games back out of first place, just 1.5 back out of the wild card. Atlanta is in fourth place right now. They are 7-9 with a .438 winning percentage, 2.5 back out of first place, 2 games out of the wild card. And then Washington is sort of falling. The wheels are kind of falling off right now over there in Washington. Over there in DC, they are 5-9, a .357 winning percentage. They're 3.5 back out of first place and 3 games back out of the wild card. It's going to be tough for them to try and get back to their World Series form that they were at just literally 2 seasons ago. Now going out to the AL West, Seattle is currently winning that division by quite a lot in games played, or in games won, I should say. They have an 11-6 record, a .647 winning percentage, but they are only a game and a half up on the Angels. The Angels are 8-6. They have a .571 winning percentage. They are 1.5 games back, the Angels are, from Seattle. Oakland is also 1.5 games back. They have a 9-7 record. They have a .563 winning percentage. And then they are 1.5 games back out of first place. They do have the wild cards. Both teams have the wild card spot, though. Then they have the Texas Rangers in fourth place in the AL West. They are 8-9. They are 3 games back out of first place and 1.5 games back out of the wild card. Then the Houston Astros, who I picked to win this division, are currently in the cellar right now. They are 7-8 with a .467 winning percentage, 3 games back out of first place and 1.5 back out of the wild card. And then we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. We're going to go out to the American League East right here. The Boston Red Sox are currently leading that division with a record of 11-6. They are tied for the best record in the American League with Seattle. They are followed by the Tampa Bay Rays in second place. They have a 7-8 record. They are 2 games back out of first place, just a half game back out of the wild card. They have a .529 winning percentage. Then Baltimore and Toronto are tied for third place right now with a 7-9 record. Their winning percentage is a .438, both 3.5 games back out of first place and just 2 games back out of the wild card. Then the New York Yankees are in the cellar, and they are also the team I picked to win the American League East, at least on paper. And they are 5-10 right now, 5 games back out of first place and 3.5 back out of the wild card. It is not going good for the Yankees this season, or at least thus far this season. But it's still early. There's nothing really to worry about just yet. Then going to the AL Central, we're going to start in last place. In last place is the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers are 6-10 with a .375 winning percentage. They are 3.5 games back out of first place. And then they are 3 games back out of the wild card. The Minnesota Twins are in fourth place. They are 2.5 games back out of first place. They are 6-8 with a .429 winning percentage and 2 games back out of the wild card. The Chicago White Sox are 8-9. They are 2 games back out of first place, 1.5 games back out of the wild card. In second place is the Cleveland Indians. They are 8-7. They have a .533 winning percentage. They are 1 game back out of first place and a half game back out of the wild card. They trail the Kansas City Royals, who are 9-6. They would be a wild card team if they were in second place, but right now they're in first place in the division. They're doing very well, and they're currently in a series against Tampa Bay. And so, battle of 2 really good teams. Right here, the Royals are technically a game ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays because the Rays are 9-8, whereas the Royals are 9-6. So when you do the numbers, it works out to a 1 game. They're 1 game ahead. So we'll be right back in just a second. I know this segment went a little long, but we'll be right back in just a minute with the Padres and Dodgers series.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are officially back for this segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. So, like I said in the intro, we're going to be going over the Dodgers and Padres series. So, the Dodgers they didn't sweep the series, but they won the series. They won the first 2 games. First game, that was 12 innings. It was a great game. It was 6-6 going into the 12th, and the Dodgers, they just kind of edged out the Padres in this one, in this first one. But Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, Taylor for the center fielder, McKinstry, and Raleigh all had 6 official at bats. Will Smith, Max Muncy, and Corey Seager all drew a couple of walks in their at bats. So they only had Smith only had 3. Max Muncy had 5, and Corey Seager had 5 as well. Mookie Betts went 1 for 6 with a strikeout and a walk. Corey Seager did really well in the game. He went 1 for 5, did score a run. Mookie Betts scored 2 of those runs. He had 2 RBIs, a walk, no strikeouts in that game. Justin Turner went 3 for 6. He scored 2 runs, had an RBI. And then Will Smith went 0 for 3. He did score a run, had 2 walks to his credit. Max Muncy, he went 1 for 5, scored 2 runs, also had a walk. No RBIs for him. And Taylor went 1 for 6, had an RBI, scored 2 runs, didn't strike out the other 3 times up to the plate. Raleigh in left field went 2 for 6, scored a run, 2 RBIs, 1 strikeout for him. And then going over to San Diego, Grisham went 1 for 4, 2 walks to his credit, no runs scored or RBIs. Fernando Tatis went 1 for 6, scored a run, had an RBI. He did strike out twice in that game. Jake Cronenworth went 1 for 6. He struck out 1 time as well. Manny Machado went 2 for 4, scored 3 runs, had 2 walks to his credit as well. Then Eric Hosmer in the 5-hole went 2 for 6, had an RBI to his credit, but did strike out 3 times. Will Myers went 2 for 6, scored a run, no RBIs to his credit, but he did have 2 strikeouts. Then Jexton Profar in left field had went 1 for 6, actually, no, my bad. He went 1 for 4, had 2 RBIs and a walk to his credit. And then Campusano went 1 for 4 behind the dish, had 2 strikeouts, and also had an RBI to his credit. Then we're going, and he also had was kind of pinch hit for a few times, just because it was a little weird. They had Cronenworth go on and throw on the mound for a little bit, and they moved Profar to second. So this was a weird game for sure. So the players that came in for Campusano were Melancon. He didn't get an at bat because he was just hitting. Then Mateo pinch hit for Melancon, and then he didn't register an at-bat. He didn't have a walk, but he also didn't get an at-bat, it looks like. Then Hill went in for Mateo. He didn't get an at-bat, but Musgroves did. Musgroves did get an at-bat, struck out in his at-bat, however. Then Tommy Pham and Kim got pinch hit for some of the other pitchers that came into play. Like Pagan and Altalavia and Adams, and also Caterini was the last pinch hitter to come in the pitcher's spot, and he ended up finishing the game behind the plate. He had 2 at bats, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts to his credit. The extra base hits, McKinstry had a double. Profar for San Diego had a double. Tatis had a home run off of Walker Buehler, and Raleigh had a home run for the Dodgers. Raleigh had a home run off Altalavia, and Corey Seager had a home run in the 12th inning off of Hill. Then going on to sacrifice flies, Jexton Profar had the only sacrifice fly of the game. For San Diego, there were no sacrifice flies out in for the Dodgers, I should say. So Walker Buehler went 6 innings for the Dodgers, gave up 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, struck out 4, and gave up a home run. Then Treinen came in for him in the 5th, gets a hold for the game, had a 2/3 of an inning pitch, gave up 1 run, 1 hit, and 1 walk. Then Gonzalez came in for Treinen. He got a hold. He pitched in just 1/3 of an inning, didn't give up a hit or a run. Then Knebel came in. Knebel went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, struck out 2. Kensley Jansen came in, pitched an inning and a third, gave up 1 run, 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 2. Santana came in as well in the 9th inning, He came in the 10th inning. He gave up no hits, 1 walk, struck out 2, and then David Price came in to close the door for the Dodgers. He pitched 2 innings, struck out 4, only walked 1, didn't give up a hit or any runs. Going over to San Diego, Weathers pitched 3 2/3 of an inning to start the game. He left the game with 1 hit, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Then Johnson came in for just a third of an inning. Didn't give up any hits or runs or walks. Altalavia gets a blown save. He comes in, gives up 1 run on 1 hit, 1 strikeout for him. Kela comes in, gets a blown save as well. He pitches 1 inning, gives up 2 hits, 3 runs, just 1 of them earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Then Pagan comes in for San Diego. He throws 1 inning of scoreless baseball, walks 1, strikes out 1. Adams comes in, gives 1/3 of an inning, gives up 1 run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Pomerantz comes in to help out Adams. He gives up 1 run in 2/3 of an, he gives up 1 hit in his 2/3 of an inning. Melancon comes in and pitches 2 innings, gives up 2 hits, 1 earned run, and strikes out 1. Hill gets the loss for that game. He gives up 4 hits, 5 runs, and 2 of those earned in the 1 1/3 inning that he pitches. Cronenworth ended that half of the top of the 12th for the Padres. He goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 1 hit, strikes out 1. Now going over to Game 2, a lot less happened in that one. Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Max Muncy, Taylor, McKinstry, Raleigh, Barnes, and Kershaw was the starting lineup for the Dodgers. For San Diego, it was Grisham, Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Will Myers, Jackson Profar, Cronenworth, Tommy Pham, Caterini, and Hugh Darvish were the players. It was the starting lineup for the Padres. The Padres ended up with just 3 hits on the night. So did the Dodgers. The Dodgers won the game 2-0. I should go back to the first game. The Dodgers won by a score of 11-6. Both teams had 12 hits and 3 errors for both. The Dodgers in the second game of the series won 2-0 with 2 runs, 3 hits, and 1 error. San Diego, obviously, 3 hits, no earned runs, no errors for them. The 3 hits for San Diego came from Trent Grisham, Manny Machado, and Will Myers. For the Dodgers, it came in with Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, and Raleigh for them. They had 2 RBIs. Those RBIs come from Trey Turner and Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw did get a walk. There were 2 walks, one from Kershaw and 1 from Austin Barnes. For San Diego, they had 4 walks. 2 of those come from Profar, 1 comes from Will Myers, and the other one comes from Grisham. Going to the pitching stats for the game, Clayton Kershaw goes 6 innings, gives up 2 hits, 2 walks, strikes out 8. Then Nelson comes in, gets a hold. He throws 1 inning, gives up 1 walk, strikes out the side. Treinen gets a hold as well. He goes 1 1/3, gives up 1 hit, strikes out 1, and that was all the night wrote for him. And then Gonzalez gets the save. He goes 2/3 of an inning, walks 1, and ends up saving the game for the Dodgers. The San Diego Padres, Hugh Darvish gets the loss. He goes 7 innings, gives up 1 earned run, 2 walks, strikes out 9. Johnson comes in the 8th inning for the Padres. He goes 1 inning, doesn't give up any runs, and he gives up 1 hit, however, strikes out 2. And then Pagan comes in the 9th. He gives up 1 hit, 1 earned run, and 2 strikeouts. He did give up a home run, unfortunately for the Padres. Justin Turner hit that one off of him in the 9th inning on an 0-0 count, and with no outs in the top of the 9th. Now going over to the last game of the series, The Padres finally won a game in the series. They won by a score of 5-2. The Dodgers had 2 runs on 3 hits and 1 error. That was the Dodgers. The Padres had 5 runs on 7 hits and no errors for them. Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Taylor, Muncy, Pollock, Nuis, and Bauer were the starters for the Dodgers. And then the Padres starting lineup was Profar, Cronenworth, Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, Mateo, and Caterini. And then Blake Snell got the start on the mound. There were 7 hits, like I said, for the Padres. Those come 3 from Manny Machado, 2 from Eric Hosmer, and 1 from Tommy Pham, also 1 from Jake Cronenworth. The runs come from Juxton Profar, Cronenworth, Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Eric Hosmer. Going over to the Dodgers, they had 3 hits. Those come from McKinstry, who was a pinch hitter for Trevor Bauer later in the game, or he was hitting in the 9th spot, I should say. Those come from Will Smith, Taylor, and then McKinstry. Their 2 runs come from Will Smith and Taylor. And then going to the pitchers, Bauer goes 6 innings, gives up 3 hits, gives up just 1 run, strikes out 7, gives up a home run. Blake Snell goes 5 innings, gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts, gives up a home run as well. Then going to the relievers for both, it is Gastrel who gets a blown save for the Dodgers. He goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, strikes out 1. Alexander for the Dodgers gets the loss. He goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up another run. No hits to his credit, no earned runs against him either, no walks or strikeouts either. Then Santana comes in and ends the game for the Dodgers. They tally 8 total innings. Santana goes 2/3 of an inning, gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, and 1 walk. Then over to the Dodgers, Blake Snell gets the no decision, just like Trevor Bauer. Adams comes in the 6th, goes 1 inning, strikes out the side. Then Statman comes in the 7th. He doesn't give up a hit, strikes out 2. Then Kela gets the win. He gives up 1 hit, strikes out 1 in the 8th inning. And then in the 9th, Melancon comes in and gets his 6th save of the season, strikes out 1 in doing so. So we're going to go over a little bit of the drama that has unfolded between the 2 teams, this one kind of including Clayton Kershaw and Mookie Betts. All right, so basically what happened, it was a 2-0 game going into the 9th regarding the Mookie Betts situation. So basically there were 2 people on, and Tommy Pham hit a sinking line drive towards center field. And Mookie Betts was playing center, in for the injured Cody Bellinger. He went to his left, sprinted 7 steps, and dove toward that ball, and it was just sinking. It had a lot of topspin on it. If it falls, the game is at least tied, and with Tommy Pham's speed, that's probably an inside-the-park walk-off home run. And Mookie Betts was able to secure it on the heel of his glove, turning it into a play with a 10% catch probability in the Dodgers' 2-0 victory. He lifted himself up on both knees, hit his chest 3 times, and then roared toward the crowd that had mostly fallen silent. And it was really awesome. Mookie Betts said he, quote, kind of blacked out, but it's been that kind of series. Hugh Darvish, it said through his interpreter, it's different. I saw it yesterday as well. He was dominant during this previous game. He went 7 innings, only gave up 1 run. But in that madness, it kind of spilled into Saturday's drama as well. So that was how the game ended on Friday, and then on Saturday, Darvish and Clayton Kershaw were going at it the entire game. The Dodgers had won 8 in a row going into that game and continuing to lead the majors in win percentage. They had won the 13 out of their first 15 games for only the second time in the last century. And they've kind of elevated themselves to match the intensity of the Padres. So the Padres definitely are, in my opinion, they're the second best team in the National League right now. And they want to knock off the Dodgers so bad. So the Dodgers were able to elevate themselves to that level of intensity, but not get ahead of themselves. Justin Turner, the Dodgers third baseman, said, quote, "It's April. The thing about this club and our team the last couple of years is we talk a lot about it, taking it one game at a time and worrying about today and doing everything that we can to win a game today and not worrying about what happened yesterday and not looking ahead to what's coming tomorrow. I think a lot of teams talk about that, but this team is one of the best groups I've ever been around actually executing that and not letting the moment get too big." So Darvish and Kershaw were obviously on the team back in 2017 for the last few months, but Kershaw has never faced Hugh Darvish, and as a hitter at least, and until this past Saturday. He was retired on 4 pitches in his first plate appearance, and then got into a 2-2 count on his second plate appearance. It was in the 5th inning, and the bases were loaded with 2 outs. Hugh Darvish was 3 hitters removed from developing a perfect game, and so began probably the best offensive sequence in Clayton Kershaw's career. It was a collection of 4 pitches that was super intense, really unpredictable, and just totally random in this rivalry between these two great teams. So the first pitch after that 2-2 sequence was a slider that was out over the plate. Clayton Kershaw tipped it, foul ball. The next one was a cutter low and away, tipped, foul ball. The next one, cutter up and away, taken for a ball, 3-2 count. Next one, cutter slightly, just barely inches off the plate, just barely, not a strike, and Kershaw took it for a ball. He walked on a great pitch by Darvish that just happened to just barely get off the plate, bringing in the only run of the game at that time, and that is only the second time in the 14-year career of Clayton Kershaw for him to for him to be at the plate and take a walk that scores a run. Kershaw said he was just kind of being annoying, or just trying to be annoying, really. I wasn't trying to get a hit off him. He's too good he's got too good of stuff. It's just trying to be a nuisance as best I can. But the prior half inning, Kershaw barked at Jurickson Profar, saying that's a, quote, BS swing. He barked at Profar for swinging a late bat that touched Austin Barnes' glove, and Profar was then awarded first base on a catcher's interference. Kershaw complained later that Profar swung straight down and backwards, adding that it was, quote, not a big league swing. 2 innings later, Grisham found himself on second base, but didn't accurately read the defense behind him and broke way too late on a Manny Machado ground ball through the infield. He only advanced to third base, and then the next batter, Will Myers, hit a 106-mile-an-hour ground ball that ripped right off the mound and landed in Chris Taylor's glove for an inning double play. Kershaw contributed 6 scoreless innings that game and hasn't allowed a run in over 18 consecutive innings. He couldn't help but smile when he made his way back to the dugout. Will Myers was stunned, but it's not going to be the last time that these two teams face each other. So that was kind of the controversy, just kind of, basically did a similar thing that Jurickson Profar was doing during his at-bat against Clayton Kershaw. I can see where Clayton Kershaw is upset about that, though, because Kershaw is obviously a pitcher and Profar is obviously a professional hitter. So I understand where Kershaw is coming. In the next inning, in the next segment, we're going to be going over extra innings because there were a couple extra inning games, including the Dodgers series this weekend. But there were more, and we're going to talk about how those are starting to affect the game, the new rules, and the extra inning play.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back in, everybody. So in this segment, like I said, we're going to be talking about the extra inning rules, and basically I want to talk about what carried over from the 2020 season, like 7-inning doubleheaders and the extra inning rule. So the Cleveland baseball team and the Cincinnati Reds had a situation much like this one this past weekend against, like, with the Dodgers, where they got into extra innings. So did the Marlins and the Giants. And basically what happened what happens during these games is essentially I've heard it called different things throughout my life, but it's basically, I've heard it called like Texas League rules or whatever. Basically, it's sort of like a time limit kind of thing in like youth tournaments, where you reach the end of regulation, and then after that it's just something that is really, it's something that I have kind of mixed feelings about. Like I said earlier that my dad personally hates the the runner starting on second rule, but I kind of understand it. It forces a situation. It's just situational baseball, and you're kind of being forced into it. So, for example, the Cleveland baseball team, currently they're called the Cleveland Indians. They were up 2-1 on Saturday, April 17th against the Cincinnati Reds. They were up, like I said, 2-1 against them. They had scored in back-to-back innings back in the third and the fourth inning, and then going into the ninth inning, they had the lead, and then they ended up losing the game by a score of 3-2. The Reds scored once in the second and then once in the ninth to tie the game, and then ended up winning in the bottom of the 10th inning. Basically, what happens is there's a runner that starts on second base. There are no outs to the inning, and basically it's just situational baseball. Major League Baseball, and Tom Verducci has said this in the past. Tom Verducci of MLB, Major League Baseball, the actual TV, and as well he does stuff for Sports Illustrated and MLB.com and ESPN sometimes. But basically, the free runner, he goes on record saying the free runner on second base to start an extra inning is an idea that is even better in practice than it was in theory. You're introducing strategy and an instant rally into the game that needs more of both. And fans seem to like it. Ratings for extra innings on MLB TV have doubled with the rule, and fans at the ballpark come alive when they see the home team batting with a runner in scoring position. And if the fans like it, it's okay by me. As an added bonus, managers like it because you don't get those super long extra inning games that wipe out your pitching staff, creating a domino effect for the next 2 days. So I kind of agree with Tom Verducci in this aspect. I like it that it adds strategy to the game, where it feels like the game was kind of moving away from strategy. And I'm not one of these baseball purists and one of those people that say that, oh, if it's not like it was back, when I was growing up, then I don't want to watch it because it's changing too much. I think that baseball is more exciting when strategy is a part of the game, and that's one of the arguments that people have for the National League not getting a designated hitter and for it to not be a universal thing. And because you have to game plan even like during the game, like, oh well, it's the 6th inning, my pitcher's going really good, but it's a really close game, and I have 2 runners in scoring position with my pitcher coming up, and 2 outs or something like that. In a situation like that where the manager has to make a decision, are we going to stick with this pitcher, or are we going to kind of get around this and take him out so we can try and get a win and get some runs here? And I think that part of the game is sort of going just straight toward analytics, because the home run is it is the best thing in baseball, because you can just get a home run, you get a run on the board, and if your swing is geared more toward home runs and extra base hits, then you are more likely to score more runs. But with that, you also get a lot of strikeouts, and the strikeouts aren't fun to watch because the pitchers are getting so good that everybody, it feels like, is coming out of the bullpen throwing triple digits, and the hitters are getting so good that it's either going to be a home run or deep fly out, or they're not going to hit the ball at all. And I think with this rule, you're sort of forced a little bit to play small ball. Like, if you have a guy that is coming up that is a really good bunter, and your guy on second has some decent speed, then you should absolutely go back to playing small ball. And then all of a sudden you have potentially runners on the corner, and you have a runner on, or at the very least you'll have a runner on third base and 1 out. And then you can take the lead, and then hopefully your bullpen and your defense can save you in the extra innings. And I totally agree with that. The only thing that I wish that I could change about this rule is I would put 1 runner on second and 1 out, because that way you have your entire team, you have the ability to, if you're on defense first, you have the ability to think, should we sacrifice a run right here? If he's on third, you say a ground ball gets hit to second for the first situation. The runner advances to third base, but now there's 2 outs and a runner on third. I think that would be more exciting, but I understand why people like it, and it's because of the situations. It just makes the game more exciting, and it makes the game shorter. Like, for example, the Dodgers game, the first game between them and the Padres, that game lasted over 5 hours, and it was 12 innings long. And that game would have lasted even longer, most likely, had there not been a runner on second base. And granted, the Dodgers got a really good rally going in the 12th inning, and they ended up scoring 5 runs. But because it was so good, but because of how long the game already was, the game lasted 5 hours. And that's too long for a baseball game. It just is. It's too long for a baseball game, especially nowadays where everything is pretty instantaneous. You don't have to watch shows like you used to. You don't have to watch a TV show that is you don't have to watch standardized programming. Like, if say for example you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you don't have to wait. You might not have to wait for that Sunday at whatever time it comes out on. And instead you could wait until the next day or whenever and just stream it on demand. And that's how a lot of programming is. And the one thing that you can't do that with is live sports. But at the same time, you can't have you cannot have your game last over 5 hours where nothing is happening. There has to be something there. Now, granted, if a baseball game is going 5 hours, but it's Game 7 of the World Series, that's a completely different story. That is completely different, and has stakes to it. But for a league that has the most games played by far out of any professional sport in any season, for games like this, like against the San Diego Padres and the Dodgers, a game can't, like, as much as fun as it is, games can't last 5 hours. Like, but for example, games against like the Marlins and the Giants and the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Baseball Organization, those two games only lasted 10 innings, and it was closer to 3 hours as opposed to 5 hours. And that's because the games ended so much faster than the Dodgers game. And I mean, granted, it's not the fault of any team, one way or the other if a game goes, 20 innings and lasts 10 hours. But if the game is going to be that long, why is it going to be that long? There's no reason for it to be that long, especially when a team has to play sometimes the later that day if the game starts at a later date and then ends in the morning. Like, they're going to have to play another baseball game the next day. Sometimes hours later, they'll have to be at the field. And it's just not, I think that it doesn't need to be that long. And I know that there are definitely people opposed to having a runner start on second. And I think that there are potentially better options to that. Maybe instead of having a runner on second with no outs, maybe we give the defense 1 out or potentially 2 outs. Or if we go with 2 outs, maybe we throw an extra runner on either first or third. That kind of thing that would make the game more exciting, but also make the game a little bit shorter. And I mean, personally, I think that's all I have to really say about that rule specifically. I don't hate it. I have mixed feelings toward it because I do like it when teams have to create their own rallies and that kind of thing, but I also understand that baseball is a long game, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but baseball is a long game, and if the game is going over 5 hours, that people aren't going to want to watch, and unfortunately for fans, for really good fans of the sport that actually really care about and really love this game, it's hard. Even for somebody like me, it's hard to sit down and watch a game that's 5 hours. Like, I have other things to do, this, that, or the other. It's hard to watch a game that's 5 hours long. Now, granted, if you're going out to a sports bar or you're actually at the game, that's completely different, and you are so invested in the game, especially if it's a team you like, and you're just invested and you want something to happen, and then when it does happen, it makes that moment that much sweeter. But even though that happens, sometimes it can still happen if the game is kind of shorter, and that's why I like 7-inning doubleheaders. Even before my time, I was born this millennium, so I don't remember doubleheaders like my dad and his friends and his dad before him. I don't remember doubleheaders like that where there were 2 games that were played almost back to back. There wasn't really much rest time, but I love that idea, and especially 7-inning doubleheaders, because personally, I think 7 innings is the sweet spot. And I'm not trying to make an argument that says that baseball should only be 7 innings, even though I think that it would make the game that much better. Like, I personally, I love the idea of making baseball 7 innings, because baseball's already too long. I think that baseball has the longest season of anything. I think that it would make the games that much more important. It would make each inning that much more critical. And if each part of the game is that much more critical, I think it will speed up the game. I think it will improve the play on the field. I think it will improve the strategy of the game, because you don't have time to let your starter get settled. If he gave up 4 runs in the second inning and got roughed up, you don't have time for him to get resettled down. You have to get him out of there, and then you have to throw another. If you're the manager, you have to make a change at the mound earlier in the game than you would have, because the game is only 7 innings long. And I love that there are 7-inning. I love that there are 7-inning doubleheaders, because it makes the game so much more fun. It makes it feel like the game has to be watched, especially if it's 7 innings. And if it's a 7-inning doubleheader, you have to watch one of those games, because it's going to change. If you have 2 games, especially earlier in the season, if you have 2 games and it's a 7-inning doubleheader, you have 14 innings of baseball to watch, and each game could drastically change the wild card race, the league leaders, the league standings. It can change everything, and it makes that game matter that much more. And that's why I would love to, if baseball would go down to 7 innings. Now, I understand the rules, or not the rules, the record books, like home runs and perfect games and no hitters, that all of those things would change drastically. Like, if that were to happen, I don't know if anybody would ever if there would even be possible to break Barry Bonds' or Mark McGwire's, or heck, even Roger Maris's single season home run record, just because you're not playing those 2 extra innings each game. And 2 innings, if you take off 2 innings by 162 games, like that's so many innings. In fact, that's 324 less innings per game, or per season, if you were to cut down every game. And this is literally just if every game happens to be 9 innings long that season for a team. That's 1,458 innings. If every game were 7 innings long, and that's not, taking into account rain delay, or like rainouts, or extra inning games, that's 1,134 games. So that is a difference of 324 innings a year, and that's a lot of games, actually. In fact, that's actually a difference of 36 baseball games. And I obviously it would make throwing a perfect game for a pitcher, obviously that's a really tough feat, especially to do it over 7 innings. If you do it over 9 innings, that's amazing, and that's why we celebrate them in the record book. So it would change a lot of the game. But I think if the game were shortened to 7 innings, that it would make the game more fun. It would make each game matter more, because technically there's 36 less games to be played, and that makes every inning matter that much more. It makes every at-bat matter that much more. It makes every pitch with a runner on scoring position matter that much more. It would make strategy such a bigger part of the game. It would make small ball. I think that would help revive small ball. And personally, small ball is my favorite thing to watch. Getting a bunt laid down, moving runners around, making the defense work. I think that is what makes baseball so great, is when small ball is being played. And don't get me wrong, I love the home run. Home runs are amazing, and it's amazing that a person can hit a ball that is going that fast and just turn it around and send it upwards of 450 feet the opposite direction. It's kind of amazing when you really think about it and how good those players are. And that would change a whole lot of baseball. But I think that baseball needs a change like this. But these are just my thoughts. So let me know what you guys think. Tweet me at GSMC_baseball. That's our show account. Tweet me, myself, at Patrick Kenny. Leave us a review on Apple iTunes. Follow us on Spotify. Leave a comment on the YouTube. I read everything, guys. So just let me know what you guys think about my thoughts about the rule changes, what you guys might like to hear. But up next, I have Bo Jackson's sort of baseball biography here in just a second.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, so in this last segment of today's episode, we're going to be going over the amazing career of the two-sport athlete, Vincent Edward Bo Jackson. He was born on November 30th, 1962, and he is the only professional athlete in history to be named an All-Star in both baseball and football. His elite achievements in multiple sports has given him the reputation as one of the greatest athletes of all time. Bo Jackson played college football as a running back for Auburn and won the Heisman Trophy in 1985. He played in the National Football League for the Rams and in the Bigs for the Kansas City Royals, the Chicago White Sox, and California Angels. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1996, but in 1989 and 1990, Bo Jackson's name became known beyond just sports as Bo Knows through the advertising campaign by Nike. He starred alongside Bo Diddley, prompting a cross-training athletic shoe named after Bo Jackson. A 1991 hip injury ended his football career and his baseball career in 1994, but he was able to battle through his hip injury and still play baseball for a few more years. He is amazing. This dude's life is amazing. If you have never seen the 30 for 30 about Bo Jackson, I strongly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. His story is just amazing. He wasn't amazing. He didn't have an amazing career because injuries cut it short. But if he had, I don't know if he would have been a Hall of Famer in baseball. In fact, I actually strongly doubt that he would have been a Hall of Famer. But right before he entered his prime in baseball, or as he was entering his prime in baseball, he got hurt in football, and that kind of ended his dominance, I would say. So collegiately in baseball, he missed a lot of his senior season, being ruled ineligible by the NCAA after a visit with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Bo Jackson believes tried to sabotage his baseball career. In his report, a scout stated that his only weakness was a lack of baseball experience. That scout could say he could be one of the greatest all-time greats bearing any injuries. He had a minor shoulder injury at the beginning of his collegiate football career, which didn't cause him any issues long-term. The scout also noted that his first year playing baseball, he seemed to be a, quote, do-it-all type of player, and he was stated to be, quote, the best pure athlete in America today. That was in April 1985 when Bo Jackson was 22 years old, a scholarship athlete at the University of Auburn. Auburn University, and he was trying to make a bigger name for himself than he already had with his football career. In this scouting report, Jackson's worth to a Major League Baseball team was only $200,000, so much less than he would end up taking home later on in his short-lived career. In college, he played in 90 games, had about 284 at-bats, scored 90 runs, had 96 hits. He had 12 doubles, 8 triples, and 28 home runs. He had 70 RBIs. He missed the 1984 season because he was injured, and then much of his senior year because literally just because he was ruled ineligible. His batting average in college was .338. His on-base percentage in college was a .466. His slugging percentage was a .729, and his OPS was a 1195. He was a beast in college, and if I have to say so myself, he was actually a really, really good, a really good baseball player as well. So he made his major league debut with the Kansas City Royals in 1986. He played 25 games, had 91 plate appearances, 17 hits, 9 runs scored out of his 82 at-bats. He had 2 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 7 walks, and 34 strikeouts. He only hit .207 in his rookie outing, but in 1987 he played in 116 games, had 396 at-bats, 434 plate appearances, had 17 doubles, 93 hits, 2 triples, and 22 home runs, with 53 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and a .235 average. Basically, in the bigs, he wasn't a great hitter, actually. Like, he could hit the ball a really long way and had all of the tools to be there, but a lack of baseball experience kind of limited his performance on the field it limited his time on the field for sure, and his ability to really make a really, really big difference. In his 1988 season with the Kansas City Royals, he was 25. He played in 124 games, had 468 plate appearances, 439 at-bats. He had 108 hits, 16 doubles, 4 triples, 25 home runs, 68 RBIs, and then 27 stolen bases. The 27 stolen bases was his career high. He did almost reach it the following season where he was named an All-Star, but in the 1988 season, he hit just 246. In 1989, he played in 135 games, which is the most he played in his career. He had 515 at-bats out of 561 plate appearances. He scored 86 runs, had 132 hits. He had 15 doubles, 6 triple baggers, 32 home runs, which is his career high, and he had a career high in RBIs that season as well. He had 26 stolen bases that year and also led the league in strikeouts. He led the league in strikeouts. He had 172 strikeouts that season. He hit .256, which wasn't the best he hit in his career, but he did also have a .310 on base percentage, and this was the only time that he was awarded an All-Star, and he also finished 10th in MVP voting that season. In 1990, he played in 111 games for the Royals. He had 405 at-bats out of 456 plate appearances. He had 110 hits, 74 runs scored. He had 1 triple bagger. He had 16 doubles and 28 home runs with 78 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and hit .272, which was his career high. I'm going to give that one his career high, considering he beat it by just 7 points in his last season in his career. But he was an okay hitter based on batting average. In 1991, he was 28, and that was also the season where he was injured, or he would be injured. He played in 23 games for the Chicago White Sox. He hit just .225 that year, had 71 at-bats. He had 16 hits, 4 doubles, and 3 home runs with 14 RBIs. I think if he would have been able to play a little bit more that season, he probably would have had a better he would have had some better stats for sure. And then going on to the 1993 season, he took the 1992 season off. 1993, he played in 85 games for the White Sox, had 308 plate appearances, 284 at-bats. He scored 32 runs, had 66 hits, 9 doubles, no triples that year or 1991, and the following year in 1994 either. He had 16 home runs that year in 1993, 45 RBIs, no stolen bases, and was caught stealing twice. He was only caught stealing 32 times in his entire career, but the fact that he was was caught stealing twice is kind of amazing, considering how good of an athlete he was even after his hip injury. And then he hit .232 that season, had an on-base percentage of .289, which was his lowest since 1998, where his on-base percentage was only a .287. And then in his last career year, at the age of 31, he played for the California Angels. He played in 75 games, had 224 plate appearances, 201 at-bats. He scored 23 runs, had 56 hits, 7 doubles, no triples, 13 home runs, 43 RBIs, and 1 stolen base. He had 20 walks that season. He had 72 strikeouts that year. He hit .279, had an on-base percentage of .344, a slugging percentage, which was not a career high, but it was his second highest in his career. He hit .507 in slugging. His career high happened in 1990 for slugging, where he hit .523 for that. And I mean, it's just unfortunate that his career ended so abruptly, sort of. He was able to play a little bit more baseball than he was football, but even then, it's just kind of disappointing to see what could have been, and potentially he had the potential to definitely be a perennial all-star in the major leagues, and it's just kind of unfortunate that he wasn't able to do that because of an injury that happened to him in football. And then going to just his batting value, I'll go to his career stats first. So for his career, he played in 694 baseball games. He had 598 hits. 86 of those were doubles. 14 of those were triples. 141 of his 598 hits were home runs. He had 415 career RBIs. He had 82 stolen bases, was caught stealing 32 times. He had 200 walks exactly for his career with 841 strikeouts. His career batting average is 250 exactly, and his on-base percentage for his career was .309. His career slugging percentage was a .474, and his career OPS was a .784. So if you look at his stats really aren't that impressive. He was he made an all-star team one year, and that was pretty much the extent of his career highlights in baseball. But the fact that he was able to even make an all-star game and was a professional two-sport athlete, I should say, considering he was able to do all of that and then get injured and come back and end up being a serviceable player is just amazing, especially when you consider that he broke his hip and then literally popped it back into place. He's also shown amazing feats of strength, breaking a bat just straight over his helmet, and one of the most impressive displays of strength I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't even get to see that live. I have to go. You have to go back and watch videos of that now. But oh my gosh, when you consider how good he actually was at playing baseball, it's amazing. When you go to his runs saved from the field, he actually was not a great fielder. His career for runs saved from the field is -20. And his runs better than average ended up also being negative. His runs above average, which is the number of runs this player is better than the average league player, was -9 for his career. His wins above replacement, he was still a really good player, and considering the fact that he really didn't have much baseball experience other than playing a little bit in high school and then playing in college, the fact that he has a career WAR that is an 8.3 is pretty impressive. And the only time his career WAR was ever negative was his rookie year, where he only played in 25 games. He had a -8 WAR, and that was his rookie year where he played in just 25 games, like I said. At the age of 23, they really didn't send him to the minors. Like, the fact that he was even up there is pretty amazing. And then he never played below the replacement player level again in his career. The next lowest that he had was the following year, where he played in 116 games, and his WAR was a 0.0. And then in 1991, where he only played in 23 games for the White Sox, he had a 0.1 WAR. And then in 1993 and 1994, he had a 0.6 WAR for each of those games. The year he made an all-star team and was in the MVP conversation, his WAR was a 2.7, and that wasn't even the best year of the best WAR of his career. The best WAR of his career happened in 1990, when he also made the Pro Bowl in football, and he had a 3.5 WAR. He was actually a really good overall player. Now, granted, his defensive wins above replacement was always in the negative. In fact, his career D-WAR is a -4.5, but his career offensive WAR is a 10.5. So he was just that dude. He could do it all. I mean, granted, he wasn't a great defensive player, but he could also make some really amazing plays that not everybody else could make, and I think that's what. I think that's what sets him apart from everybody else, because if you've ever seen any Bo Jackson highlights, you've seen him just pick up a ball from the wall and just throw it to home plate on a line and just hit the catcher in the chest, just on a dot. It's kind of amazing if you've ever actually watched that or watched some highlights of him. He was just an absolutely amazing athlete. And if you go to his advanced batting, he and that really didn't. They didn't start keeping those stats until 1988. So the first 2 years of his career, they don't have anything really for him. But his line drives percentage, starting in 1998, was a 16.6. 1999, 22.8. 1990, 18.1, 14.9 in 1991 for line drive percentage. In 1993, his line drive percentage was a 22.3, and in 1994, his last year of his career, his line drive percentage was a 20.6. His ground ball percentage, so the percentage of ground balls put into play in that are hit as ground balls, are in 1998, 50% of the balls that were hit of his were ground balls. In 1998, the year he made the All-Star team, only 49% of his hits of the balls that he put in play were ground balls. In 1990, it was 51.8%. In 1991, it was 66% of ground balls. In 1991, he did not have a great year, that's for sure, and that's part of the reason he only played 23 games for the White Sox that season. In 1993, he got his ground balls down, his ground ball percentage down to a 53.1%, and then in 1994, the last year of his career, his ground ball percentage was 60.3. His career 8-year average was 50.1% for ground balls, and when you consider regular major league averages, his line drive percentage was right on par, or just under par, I would say, actually, for for regular major leaguers. His MLB average for ground balls was much higher than most major league averages. His career average for ground ball percentage was 50.1%. the career average for major leaguers are 43.4%. His fly ball average was lower than is lower for his career than it is for major league averages, but not by much. His 8-year career average for fly ball percentage was 23.9%, and the major league average is a 25.4%. He was definitely not a pull hitter. He used the entirety of the field and was not afraid to go oppo, and that's one of the reasons I love him so much. His career opposite field percentage is 21.8. His center field percentage was a 54.7, and his pulling percentage was a 23.5. So he really didn't pull the ball that much, considering major league average for pull percentage is a 28.8%. Center field is 52.4%. So his pull average is 5.3 points below the major league average, and hitting it to center is 2.3% higher than than major leaguers. And then his opposite field percentage is a cool 3 percentage points higher than every other than the major league average. He was not afraid to go opposite field, and that's what I loved so much. Or that's what I love about going back and watching his things. So that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. Leave us a review on Apple iTunes, Spotify. Follow us there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload all of our episodes. Let us know what we're doing or what you guys would like to hear. Tweet us at GSMC_baseball on Twitter. Thank you guys for listening. Y'all have been great. My name's Patrick Kenny. I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.